You can have everything in life you want when you help enough other people get what they want. We don't have to agree on everything, but we do need to respect each other, honor each other, lift each other up, and therefore dignity now comes into place. Communication is literally a two-way street, and the good Lord is on our side. He gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should be listening twice as much as we're talking. If you buy something, you're making the decision. That's the way it should be. It's for you to solve your challenges.
Entrepreneurs, get ready for a treat, because today we're bringing in none other than Scott Schilling, known as the Authentic Connector. Scott's an international speaker, trainer, media host, executive coach, and consultant with over 35 years of experience in coaching, sales, marketing, and training. Having shared the stage with legends like General Colin Powell, Suze Orman, and Les Brown in over 3,000 events, Scott knows how to captivate and deliver the goods. Tune in for a conversation packed with insights from Scott's incredible journey and his tried and true advice for creating meaningful connections that drive real results. It's a pleasure to have you today with us, Scott.
I'm honored to be here. I'm looking forward to this. We're going to have some fun.
I'm going to ask you the question I ask everybody. What is the one thing that you know now that you wish you could go back in time and tell yourself when you first started?
When things are really good, they don't stay really good forever. Get out ahead of it. Utilize the really good to make sure that your life is always really good.
That's fantastic advice, because like I was saying, it's some content that I'm going to be releasing this week, is that there are multiple seasons. There's your season of learning when you're learning everything and getting into it. Then there's the season of growth when you see it starting to do it. Then it's the season of harvest, but you won't be harvesting forever, you know?
Well, you got to plant again. I mean,
Yeah.
There's a cycle. You know, what's interesting that you just said that, because the reality is the process of growing a plant is the process of growing virtually everything. And there is a time where you have to plant and you have to seed and you have to weed and you have to water and you have to be patient, which that's hard for some people. And then you can finally get that harvest and do it again. But as an example, you know, who would have predicted 2 hurricanes in the last month?
Sure.
You know, you just got to be out ahead of it. Fortunately, I'm in Texas. I'm not in that area, but I got a lot of friends that were severely impacted.
Yeah, that's true, because the thing is, we never know what's going to happen in our future because we don't have the magical foresight to see. But what we can do is use the resources and time we have to plan as much as possible. You can't be perfect, but you can at least try. At least it's better to have tried to save up something for a rainy day. And then even if you do have to deal with the 2 hurricanes, floods, and damage and everything, at least you got something for at least one of those days.
God's plan and timing is perfect. And I used to teach that rarely could you understand it. Now I teach you can never understand it. So, you know, just understand that He's got this and things are going to be okay.
Amen to that, because there's no way for us as human beings. We don't have the ability to see everything. We can't see it's not like Doctor Strange on Marvel. He's like, I've seen all these versions and this is the one that's going to make, we can't do that. So, because we can't look and see all the different ways. There's no way for us to know. So like you said, you know, we have to go by what the best way we know how to prepare and let God handle the rest of it, because we have to do our part and let Him do His part.
Yeah.
Okay. So I see right here, you're talking about the importance of creating authentic relationships that matter. And what does an authentic relationship mean to you?
Well, an authentic relationship is exactly that. Comes out of authenticity. I can't be you. You can't be me. We can only be the best us we can be. And authentic relationships are those of, I think sometimes people think these are intellectual, tactical things, and they're not. They're strategic, relational, heartfelt things. Authentic relationships are really caring about other people. My platform is really to return respect, honor, and dignity to the planet. We don't have to agree on everything, but we do need to respect each other, honor each other, lift each other up, and therefore dignity now comes into place.
That's true, because you don't have to agree with everybody to treat them well.
No,
You don't have to agree on anything. Just be decent to other people. It's not that hard.
no, it really isn't. I think people are making it way harder than it needs to be.
Yeah, you're right. So now I know that you're the authenticity guy. And when you say it's important to have real, true, and honest authenticity in your relationships, what do you mean by that? Like you were saying, it's not intellectuals in your heart. So how can a person start doing that?
Well, I think there's a lot of ways. How many of you know how to smile? It's not that hard, right? So it costs you absolutely nothing. You totally positively impact two lives immediately, yours and theirs. And why is it important? Because we're meant to be of service to others. We're meant to be of service to the greater good. We're meant to lift up other people and support them. We're
Yeah.
supposed to be doing this. We're
Mhm.
open hands. And how can I be of service to support? Because I come out of the Ziegler camp. I was very fortunate to know Zig, be on the road with him, still friends with the kids. Their kids they're my age, but they're kids. They're his kids, Tom and Julie and Cindy. But there was a line in his book, See You at the Top, that set my path in life. You can have everything in life you want when you help enough other people get what they want. You come from a servant heart and a servant leadership position. It's amazing what can happen in your life.
Mhm. That's true. You're 100% right on that because that's where a lot of people talk about being a servant leader because it's important to, like you said, build up other people because those people will help you create that network. I looked at some of your work. You said it's important to build trust quickly. And you said that's foundational for your success. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Well, as a sales trainer and a sales guy, right?
Yeah.
People do business with those they know, like, and trust. And trust is what is imperative. Well, if they don't know you, they probably don't like you because they don't know you. And if they don't like you, they probably don't trust you. But it's imperative that people trust you to do business with you. Therefore, by definition, you have to build trust ahead of the need for that trust, which means you have to create an authentic relationship where, that's why I say it's not like these techniques are necessarily hard. Can you smile? Well, that gets somebody to maybe know you and then like you a little bit. Boy, I like a happy face. If you're happy, tell your face, right?
Yeah.
Have some fun doing what you're doing, right? And then you can build trust and you have to develop trustworthiness across the time. Now, I've been blessed. I've sold $25 million of other people's product from stage, typically in an hour or less. Well, what do you have to do to accomplish that? The first thing you have to do is build trust with a 25,000 person audience that didn't know you a few minutes earlier. You have to build trust quickly and efficiently. And people can feel if you're trustworthy. And they can also feel if you're not.
That's true. When people, somebody comes up like the used car salesman stereotype being all sleazy, like, hey, let's go ahead. And they're like, yeah, I don't know if I trust you. You're not giving me the vibe of a trustworthy person. You sound like you're trying to get as much money as possible out of me before I even say hello.
Exactly.
So yes, it's true. You do need to have that good rapport with a person and build that trust with them because if there's nothing trustworthy about you from the beginning, they're not even going to want to give you the time. Because like you said, you quickly sold them from the stage. And if in those first 25 minutes, you seem like the sleaziest dude on the planet, they're not going to give you a dollar.
Yeah, I can assure you they shut down immediately. It's about,
Yeah.
You've got to build trust. You've got to share a story they can embrace. You've got to provide a solution to one of their challenges in life. And then you've got to ask them to participate in it. And that's how you accomplish those things. Yes, it's a process, but the more real you are, the more that is you 100% of the time. I mean, I get that all the time. People, I come off stage and they'll go, man, you're the same guy. You don't change. And I go, yeah, it's too hard to remember how to do something else. This is who I am. This is what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that comes across here as well, because, when I saw you over at Speaker's Playhouse, I was like, yeah, I need this guy. So yeah, and I see that you're presenting that same thing to my audience. So it's a pleasure to have you here
Well, I'm
and
honored.
giving
Thank
that.
you.
Yes, happy to have you. And so the next thing is, when you talk about empathy and cultivate it at deeper levels, I know a lot of people know, well, I just be nice to people. But that's not what true empathy is like. You can be nice, but just not just being empathetic. So could you speak some on that?
Well, yeah, I think the biggest thing is people confuse empathy and sympathy a lot.
Mhm.
Sympathy is, oh, isn't that too bad for them? And I mean, yes, it's an admirable quality in the appropriate times, but it's
Mhm.
really the empathy. It's stepping into their shoes. It's not them separated from you like sympathy. It's you
Mhm.
actually step into their shoes. And it's like, how can I help learn and appreciate their situation in a different way that I might come out with a new idea on how to serve that need? And that's
Mhm.
really the stepping into the shoes action, right? One of the things I say in sales training all the time is when somebody's objecting to something, please don't say I understand for a couple reasons. Number
Mhm.
one, it could be taken as confrontational, even though you don't mean it that way. But number two is, can you really understand? Now, that being said, 100% of the time you can say, you know, I can appreciate your situation. I
Mhm.
can appreciate it from my sphere of reference, from what I know about the situation, whatever. And so now we have an opportunity to truly work with each other to get to a better place where I can potentially help give an idea for consideration or a solution.
Yeah, that is a very valuable tip because, like you said, a lot of people see, oh, I understand where you're coming from. It's condescending. They're like, how can you understand me? Especially when you're dealing with de escalating customers. Because, hey, I have a background in critical customer support, AKA customer complaints department. that, and I had a 300% retention rate in the complaints department. So I told my fellow coworkers that saying that makes them feel they're already mad. So the better thing to do is, you know what? You're right. It's not fair. We need to solve this. And I like your approach as well, because both approaches come from a solutions area.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
you can't come to people being like, oh, I totally get where you're coming from. I understand you. And they're like, oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah. How do you know?
Yeah. Who do you think you are telling me that? So yeah, we want to prevent that from happening in our customer interactions and with our clients and people we want to sell to and even networking from day to day. So, and once again, that leads to communication, like we were just talking about. What way do you feel that effective communication can, like you said, give deeper understanding as well as deepening your relationships?
Well, communication is literally a two-way street. And the good Lord is on our side. He gave us two ears and one mouth. We should be listening twice as much as we're talking. We many times have this tendency of wanting to be right or the authority or cool or who knows, right? And so we work to impart things as opposed to really addressing and listening. It's funny you said that about customer service. I actually had a customer service issue with a company today. I couldn't get to the support department. I finally found another link and I sent it to them and they said, "Well, this isn't our area of the company. Go reach out to them." I said, "If I could get to them, I wouldn't have gotten to you."
Oh my
And
goodness.
and so you sit there and you go, "Did
Hmm.
you read any of the stuff that I sent to you?" The point is, we live this stuff every day. The question is, do you ever step out of yourself and turn into an observer? I mean, how would you react if you were outside of you, listening to you
Hmm.
and how you're presenting things or whatever? So, I mean, I think there's some, you know, I don't ever want to I don't ever want to sell you anything. I
Hmm.
do always want you to buy a lot from me.
Hmm.
Therefore, it's my responsibility to create that environment for you to want what I have. Right now, you're making the decision. If I sell you something, I'm making the decision. If you buy something, you're making the decision. That's the way it should be. It's for you to solve your challenges, right? So again, I mean, I think a big part of this, it is communication is truly like one of the questions that I ask right out of the blocks to new people. If you could improve one thing in your ... formulaic question. If you could improve one thing in your life, what would it be today? If you could improve one thing in your relationship with your kids, what would it be today? The point is, if I can ask that and now listen, you're going to now open up and share what would serve you the most. And the communication comes that I have now heard this, and I can now think through, critically evaluate what you said, and do something that becomes of value to you, because it ain't about me. It's about you.
Yeah, you're 100% right, because in marketing and sales, both sides of the coin, you're not the superstar. The person you're working with or making a relationship with, they're the superstar. You're there to help them out. You just shine the spotlight on them.
That's right.
A lot of people are like, I feel so nervous when I'm doing that. As Marie Forleo said, the spotlight isn't on you, shining on them.
Exactly.
So, it's about their wants, their needs, their fears, their desires. And like you said, when you're listening, you can hear that. You can hear their answer. They say, when you ask them what they can improve and they give you their answer, the answer is in it. That's what you need to use, when you're working with them, because you are building them up. Because that's why they need to see you as indispensable. Because they won't see it that if you just give them one of those instant, formulaic answers back.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, well, I understand you're going through that, but over here, my brother.
Yeah. Let me tell you why I'm the best at this.
Yeah, I'm the best one you need.
Yeah.
Give me your money.
Yeah.
It's like a conversational stick up. I said, give me your money. Buy this product.
I love that.
And then, when there are a lot of people, when you get to be good at communication, a lot of people really want your time, they want your energy. So it's important to set boundaries. So how do you set boundaries with people who you communicate with and who you serve and, work with?
Well, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And so I'm actually very easy to get a hold of and work with, whether it be a meeting or whatever. And we'll start in a conversation. It's the only way we're going to get to know each other. But I mean, it's so funny. I find it hilarious that this woman said, just communicating back and forth, right, on Facebook, says, I don't understand. That offer was so good. It makes penguins feet cold. And you're not, it was this corny, as opposed to try to sell me something the minute we meet. Why don't you ask me a question about my business or my family, or do I have kids, or do I like breathing air? You can ask almost anything. One of the things that I say to people, I don't teach anything I don't use or say myself, right? But I'll walk up to somebody and say, hey, what's new and exciting in your world? Well, why would you ask something like that? Well, let's go back. People do business with those they know, like, and trust. And if I ask about you, you're going to get to know me a little bit better. And you're going to probably like me because you're talking about your favorite subject, you. Right. And so if I say, what's new and exciting in your world? And you say, oh, nothing, I won't let them get away with that.
Oh, no.
It's like, oh, come on. You're doing something new and exciting. And, oh, no, I'm really not. Well, you must be doing something that's really good because you're not willing, right? And so now we're playing, right? We're having fun because that middle part is getting people to like you. People like people who they have fun with. It's a novel concept, right? People think this is so hard to create relationships and be connected and do all this different stuff. It's really not. It's actually common sense, but the common has left a long time ago, right?
That's true.
If we have fun with each other, if we honor each other, if we respect each other, all sorts of good things can happen, right? And so setting boundaries is now, if you and I got on a call and you went after the jugular immediately, I would shut it down in a second. But if you're doing you know, legitimate interrogatories. That's a big
Mm-hmm.
word for asking questions.
Yes.
If you were doing that and it was in an appropriate tone and that it felt as if you were really trying to learn about me, we can
Mm-hmm.
go on. That's the thing that people don't, a concept that I teach pretty much every day. Today's activity does not determine today's volume. Today's volume was determined by what you did 30, 60, 90 days ago. Today's activity determines what happens 30, 60, 90 days from now.
Exactly.
If you're not doing enough right now, it's not because of today. It's what you didn't do in the past. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
like where you are today, change what you're doing today for the next little bit. So that's the same thing with boundaries, right? If you call and are a pest, you
Mm-hmm.
change the boundary. If you call and are very nice, as you are, then you open yourself up and you say, how can I be of service to you? What would serve you in what you're working to do? Because
Mm-hmm.
again, I trust that there are people in your audience that aren't in my audience,
Mm-hmm.
and we are going to open up to people who need to know us.
Exactly. Because that's the thing. At the end of the day, when you are trying to work with somebody and try to build a boundary, like you said, I get these messages saying the same on Facebook and LinkedIn. The first message, hey, don't you want to buy my product? Don't you want to buy this service? Don't you want to do this? It only costs this amount. I'm like, who are you? Why are you? What is that?
I got this guy who's been trying to sell me this wonderful program. Well, it first started with send me a check for $5,000 and I'll only keep 50% of the profits you make from the system I teach you.
No,
And I said, no, thank you.
no.
And he's like, well, how about $3,000? No. Is it the money you're going to send to me first? Well, no, because I'm not going to send you any money first. Or is it, can you help me perfect my offer? Is it the 50% commission on the backside? Why would I help you perfect anything? You're scamming people. And so now the message is I've got one guy that made 250,000, one guy that made 400,000 with this system so far. I'd encourage you to go work with them. They seem to be doing great.
Exactly, because you can't hold them at conversation of gunpoint and make them get
Anything.
money.
And then it's the question mark. How come you're not responding to me quicker?
Oh God.
Right? Oh, I didn't realize you're the only thing in my world.
Thank you. I have so many in my inbox. Did I send the wrong thing? Yeah, you did actually. And I'm like, the fact and sometimes if they really do it, I'm like, you know what? Oh, this is a teaching opportunity. I'm like, I'm just going to tell, I'm not going to tell you what you need to do better, but I'm going to tell you what you did wrong.
Yeah, exactly. That's something you might want to reconsider in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, like you look too pushy, and I didn't even. All I said was "Hello, how you doing?" And you just said like this much of text, a whole wall about our product is great and silent for this, and I'm like, okay, say you bye.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think authentic relationships are. The thing is that you can call people, you can talk to people, you can talk to them a lot, or you can talk to them almost never. But if you leave the last conversation in a good way, the time between conversations can be extended. If people know your heart, that's what it comes down to.
Yes, because knowing your heart is really important for people to understand and build a relationship with.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you were saying about building relationships, and to build a good relationship, you have to be vulnerable. You have to open yourself up. And what would you like to say about that to the audience?
You're seeing me. I'm me. I've been blessed to do a lot of things, and that and a quarter gets me a quarter. So, the reality is now, did I pick up a ton of skills and a ton of knowledge and expertise and stuff? Absolutely. But it doesn't make me any better than anybody else. What it does is it makes me more knowledgeable about certain things that I can serve more people with. Right. And so you've got to be vulnerable. And that's where, I was on the speaking circuit. I did 288 talks a year for 6 years. Crazy. When you're doing it, you're just doing it. You don't think about it. Then it stops and you go, what the hell was I thinking? And you get to meet so many people and truly understand their situations, right? And I mean, it's funny. It depends on what kind of talk I'm doing, but I actually did one to a Christian Kingdom entrepreneur group in Austin, Texas, a couple weeks ago. And probably about 12 minutes into the talk, I started to well up. And I went, first of all, I just allowed it. It just happened. I didn't plan it. And then I went, gosh, somebody could have won the over and under if they would have said I would have welled up before 15 minutes. I would have never.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's that vulnerability, right? Is be you. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to let people understand. They've got to feel you, and if people can feel your heart in one of the ways, again, I more than likely, if certain talks I do, I mean, I lived through a near-death experience. In that talk, I happened to be talking about that. I said, I'm an overachiever. I lived. What can I say, right? and so I can make fun of it. There are parts of it, when people are sitting there, we don't understand why you're alive. And they kept on saying that to me. And so I was sharing that portion of the story. And there are times where that hits me in a way, because it's like, you guys are why am I the only one that believes? I said, I got it all figured out. I said, okay, what is it? I said, it's obvious. It's God's grace, mercy, and favor on my life. I said, this isn't me. This is whatever. And so to be able to share that from stage, I had one woman walk up to me one time and she said, can I ask you a question? She said, I'm a speaker and I've done a lot of talks. But she said, I'm just absolutely amazed. She goes, what gives you the courage to lead with your faith? And I said, well, I'm allergic to lightning. She goes, what's that mean? And I said, I've already lived through one near-death experience. I don't need a second one. I worked for one guy, and I'm doing the very best I can to be the best representative of him as I can be. And so, I said, I've won 100% of my audiences exactly never. Or do I ever anticipate I will? All I can do is do the best I can do to share good quality content for other people's consideration. Like it, absorb it. Don't like it, deflect.
Exactly.
I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm here to do what I can to serve other people, including you.
Yep. That's right. Like you said, when it comes to being open and vulnerable and showing yourself, whether it's your faith or your background, or like a lot of people, they're embarrassed about their background or they're embarrassed to talk about their faith. I tell people, whatever led up to this moment made you you. And if you try to hide that, or you try to, you're being inauthentic. You don't have to be like, hey, everybody, today I had a headache today, but I came over anyway. Unless you're going to make it really funny, then you can. But if you don't make it funny, you won't be able to do it, because then they'll be saying, oh, they're complaining. Oh. Like you said, being open about your faith and being open about your near-death experience. My mother had 3 near-death experiences. So I come from a family. I know what that's like. Well, and she praised God every day for it.
Well, that's what I was part of a compilation book where we had 23 authors. The book is called Second Chances: From Surviving to Thriving. And there were a lot of near deaths. I only had one near-death experience. One guy had 5. I'm an underachiever. A mom of 4 kids that got addicted to heroin and then got off of it. Some amazing stories of hope and inspiration and perseverance and all that. It's what happened to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had some really great ups. I've had some really less than great ups.
Yeah.
But the ups are more fun, by the way, just in case you're wondering.
100%. Always.
But I truly believe God put me through the less than ups so that I could be more empathetic with people. When people say, well, you couldn't possibly get what I'm going through. Do I know exactly what you're going through? Not really, but I think I got a pretty good appreciation for it.
hmm Because, like you said, you don't have to be a cold carbon copy of that person to have empathy for them.
Exactly.
You can step in their shoes without having to literally open their body up and let me get inside your skin. Let me just stand inside it. Oh, wow. Ooh, it really is. Ooh, you're right. It really is bad in here. Oh, goodness. Ooh. I don't know how we got in here, but yeah, you got some problems. We need to work on this. So you don't have to have that level of working through it to be able to help somebody, to be empathetic with somebody, to build a relationship with somebody.
Exactly. You just got to have some want to. You
Yeah.
can learn the rest of
Yeah.
the stuff if you want to.
Exactly. And like you said, you have your why. Your reason is your faith. And your reason is helping people. So you got your reason. See, that's the thing. People need their reason to do what they do. Because if you go and a lot of people, they'll go, oh, I heard so-and-so, they became successful from doing that. Let me go do it too. And then they go do it. They're like, no, that's not me. I'm like, yeah, it didn't work for you because you weren't being true to you.
Authenticity, Pete.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes. If you're being authentic to somebody else, you can't, there's only one of them. You can't be them.
That's right.
You have to be you.
They already made well, and I share this a fair amount that multiple people can go through the exact same experience and they will live it completely differently. Right? I mean, we just had the hurricanes. You can look at storms, you can look at a lot of different things. And everybody's experience and takeaway will be different, even though they experience the same event.
That's true. Well, I see you have a free gift for our audience. Could you tell us more about that free gift?
Yeah, it's actually my first book, Talking with Giants, Powerful Leaders Share Life Lessons. Cynthia Kersey made this impassioned plea to support Habitat for Humanity. And we were in an event, probably 800 people in the audience. My buddy on one side said, man, did that hit you? I said, absolutely. He goes, I'm going to write her a big ass check. And he said how much it was, and it was a big ass check. And my other friend on the other side said, wow, that's pretty amazing. I'm going to write her a check too, but not that big. And they both looked at me and said, what are you going to do? And I said, I can't. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, well, I'm in a stock play. This is when I was back in a corporate situation. And I said, I don't have free cash. I mean, my future is bright, but right this second, I can't do that. And they said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to figure something out. And what I figured out is that I could write a book sharing the experience, interviewing not only Cynthia Kersey to support Habitat for Humanity, but also Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, Harv Eker, the CEO of Kimberly-Clark. I realized that I knew a bunch of really cool people. And they all were cool then, but they weren't always cool. So the stories were kind of like, how'd you go from uncool to cool? And what I noticed is each one of you has a philanthropic bent to you. You have a desire to give back. So there's 21 charities tied to the book. And the book is really generosity builds prosperity, not the other way around. You don't give to prosper, but when you give, you do prosper. And so it's an encouragement for people to read the stories, see the support, whether it be the American Red Cross or Habitat for Humanity or Juvenile Diabetes or Autism Society, and find something that makes your heart sing and support them, whatever that means for you. Now, if something in the book you don't like the 21 that are in there, then find something else. Then the book did its thing. It's called Talking with Giants. You can go to twgfreegift.com and download the whole book, and feel free to give it to other people, because the only thing I really wanted to do with it is create the environment of giving.
Well, I think that's fantastic. And I know with all those amazing people showing the insights of their trajectory and how they went from uncool to cool, I know people will be able to find wonderful nuggets of inspiration and ideas. And once again, we're not encouraging you to copy and paste anybody's life, but we are encouraging you to take insights from it, because like I always tell people, why reinvent the wheel? If somebody else already made the wheel, look at their wheel and see how you can roll yourself.
Exactly. The model is there.
And that way you don't have to work yourself to try to figure out everything when you can just use what somebody else did. So it has been a pleasure to have you. And as always, if anything else you want to leave our wonderful listeners with before we wrap things up?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. This has been fun. I'd love to do it again, and we'll figure that out. But I just would encourage people. We're coming into a time where hopefully people are nicer, and the holidays and Thanksgiving, and that there's a lot more gratitude and whatever, and just love on people. Be nice, be kind. Let's return respect, honor, and dignity to the planet. Again, we don't have to agree with each other. We don't even have to like each other, but we should respect each other, honor each other, and then dignity is created by all.
Thank you so very much, Scott. That was Scott Schilling, everybody. It was wonderful to have him. And as always, if you enjoyed what you heard today, go check out his website. Go get that book. It will be in the description. It's there. Don't act like you don't see it. So go to the website. There will be a transcript, and don't act like you don't see that either. There's also going to be a document that you can download with the highlights from this. You can take it home with you. Once again, it's there. Don't act like you don't see it. So if you enjoyed it, please leave your comment if you're watching it on YouTube. And if you're watching it online, what are you waiting for? Sign up to our email. Join us so you can get all these great resources and all this information from all our wonderful speakers. Thank you so much, Scott Schilling, everybody. And once again, thank you for being a listener of Authority Connected Burlington. Have a great day.